So, I've watched 276 hours of content about dopamine detox. Yeah, 276 hours. Don't ask me why, but here's the problem. Most of them make it sound like you've got to delete Instagram, quit Netflix, and basically move into a cave or something to fix your brain, which is just not true. Here's the thing. If picking up a book feels boring, but binge watching reels for hours feels easy, that's not lack of discipline. That's your brain's reward system getting hijacked. And the good news is you don't have to torture yourself to fix it. So in this video, I'll show you the 3 things that actually work. How to spot those dopamine triggers, how to swap the unhealthy spikes for better habits, and how to run short resets that bring your focus back without having to torture yourself into some kind of monk. And yes, I've tried almost everything on the internet, and I can confidently say that these methods work. By the end of this video, you'll have a super simple weekly checklist to calm the noise, kill those cravings, and actually enjoy normal life again. So let's fix that reward system, not your personality. Alright, so why do people even care about dopamine detox? Basically, our brains are getting hammered all day with tiny little hits of stimulation. Scrolling, notifications, YouTube shorts, whatever your thing is, let's be honest, you already know what that is. And the problem is, the more of those quick spikes we get, the harder it feels to enjoy normal stuff again, like reading, studying, or even just sitting with your own thoughts. You know that feeling where 5 minutes into a book feels like torture, but somehow 2 hours of scrolling disappears just like that? Yeah, that's not you being broken. That's just your brain's reward system getting a little hijacked. And look, I say this not just as some guy who binge watched 276 hours of dopamine detox videos, but as a teacher too. My day job is literally helping people focus and learn. And I've seen how this whole overstimulation thing shows up in my students as much as it does in me. But here's the thing, most of the advice out there, delete everything fun, lock yourself away, basically punish yourself, which honestly doesn't work for most people, and it definitely didn't work for me. What does work is way simpler, understanding how dopamine actually functions and then making small tweaks that reset your brain's sensitivity. No extreme monk mode, no cave, no drama, just 3 things that actually stick. The key here is not to punish yourself. It's about rebalancing your brain's reward system. Every little swap teaches your brain that it doesn't need constant spikes to feel okay. So, step 1 is awareness. Basically, spotting the moments when your brain is chasing a dopamine hit without you even realizing it. And trust me, once you start noticing, it's kinda scary how automatic it is. Here's a cool thing I found in the research. Dopamine doesn't actually spike when you get the reward. It spikes in anticipation of the reward. That's why just seeing the little red notification bubble makes you want to tap it. Your brain is already releasing dopamine before you even know what the message is. That little cue is enough to hijack your attention. And I see this with my students all the time. They'll sit down to study, open the book, suddenly they're on their phone. Not because they wanted to check Instagram, but because their brain saw that cue and said, oh, there's a hit waiting for us. And honestly, I do the exact same thing. So here's what I suggest. For 1 or 2 days, keep what I call a trigger log. Every time you catch yourself reaching for your phone, switching apps, or chasing that quick little spike, just write it down. Don't judge it, don't try to stop it yet. Just track it. Because step 1 isn't about deleting dopamine from your life. That's impossible. Whoever tells you you can delete dopamine from your life is crazy. It's about seeing the patterns. You can start taking back control. You need to first turn on the light to see the mess. Alright, step 2 is substitution. Because here's the deal. Most people think a dopamine detox means you just quit everything fun. Delete Instagram, uninstall YouTube, throw your PlayStation out the window. Don't do that before playing Bloodborne, please. But if you ever actually tried that, you know it doesn't work. Your brain hates a vacuum. What the science actually shows is your brain has this baseline dopamine level. If you're constantly flooding it with quick hits, scrolling, gaming, junk food, whatever, your baseline gets warped. Suddenly, normal stuff like reading, working feels painfully boring because your brain's used to way bigger spikes. So instead of going cold turkey, the smarter move is to swap those high spikes for neutral or healthier habits. For example, instead of doom scrolling when you're bored, take a quick walk. Instead of binging YouTube, Just journal a page or make yourself a cup of tea. Doesn't sound sexy, but these neutral habits keep your baseline from crashing and they stop you from spiraling back into the high steam stuff. I tell my students this all the time. If you take away TikTok and you don't give the brain something else to do, guess what? They'll just find another spike. Snacks, games, YouTube, same loop. But if you swap it for something neutral, like stretching or even doodling, suddenly they can sit back down and focus way easier. The key here is not to punish yourself, it's about rebalancing your brain's reward system. Every little swap teaches your brain that it doesn't need constant spikes to feel okay. Alright, step 3 is what most people think of when they hear dopamine detox, the actual reset. And here's the funny thing, when I first tried it, I went way too extreme. No phone, no internet, no music, no books, just me staring at a wall. And it was boring as hell. And it didn't really change anything. The research backs this up. You can't detox from dopamine. Your brain needs dopamine to survive. What you can do is give your brain a short break from overstimulation, so it resensitizes to normal everyday activities. Think of it like giving your taste buds a reset after too much junk food. Suddenly, simple food tastes good again. So, here's what actually works. Set aside 2 to 4 hours once or twice a week as a low stimulation block. During that time, no phone, no Netflix, no endless snacks, just simple stuff. Going for a walk, stretching, journaling, cleaning, even just sitting quietly. And I've noticed that actually sitting quietly works the best, although it sounds really boring, but being bored, in my opinion at least, is a blessing. And the magic is, after one of these little resets, normal tasks start to feel way more satisfying again. Because you're basically giving your brain room to appreciate the smaller hits instead of craving the constant fireworks. So don't think of it as punishing yourself, think of it as hitting the refresh button on your brain's reward system. A couple of hours here and there, that's all you really need. Oh, and a quick bonus before we move on. There are a few apps I found that actually make this whole dopamine detox thing way more fun. None of these are must-haves, but if you're like me and you like a little gamification, they definitely help. The first one is Study Bunny. It's free, it's on your phone, and basically you put in the hours you want to study. If you hit your goal, you earn coins and then you can buy little outfits and accessories for your bunny. Super simple, but honestly, weirdly motivating. It makes the process feel like a game. The second one is Forest. I'm sure you've heard of this one because it has so many downloads. Same idea, but instead of dressing up a little bunny, you grow a little digital tree while you're focusing. If you cave and start scrolling TikTok, the tree dies, which honestly feels way more tragic than it should. But it works. Over time, you actually grow a whole forest of your focus sessions, which is kind of cool to look back on. And finally, for my Windows users, there's an app called Cold Turkey Blocker. This one's brutal. You tell it what to block, you set a timer, and that's it. Once it's on, even if you restart your computer, you can't turn it off. Painful, but effective. So again, these apps aren't essential. You don't need them to do dopamine detox. But for me, they added a bit of fun and structure. And honestly, that little extra motivation goes a long way. So that's the dopamine detox, at least the way it actually works. It's not about deleting every app on your phone or forcing yourself into monk mode or staring at a blank wall until you magically become productive. It's just 3 things. First, spot your triggers so you know what's pulling your attention. Second, swap those high spike habits for neutral ones so your baseline stays balanced. And third, give your brain a little reset with short, low stimulation blocks once a while. And once you get that, suddenly reading, working, or just hanging out with your own thoughts doesn't feel like a battle anymore. It feels normal again. But for a lot of people, normal still isn't enough. What if you still struggle to sit down and tackle that massive project you've been putting off for weeks? What if your brain is quiet but you still can't focus? If you want to take this new, more relaxing system and turn it into actual massive results, you need the right deep work system. That's why you should check out this next video where I break down the 5-step process for eliminating procrastination and achieving deep work every single day. Click here to watch it now, and goodbye.